Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 17. That's actually crazy, of a Teen Talk Skating podcast. My name is Van Gogh, and today is a bit of another video essay kind of theme. Kind of the last video essay episode I did was on the current U.S. women's field. This one is completely different, but again, it's kind of like a video essay. I'm going to be explaining something for, all different perspectives, opinions, etc. And it's going to be really fun and very interesting as well, and very relevant to today's figure skating as well. But I hope you guys are all doing well. This week has been emotionally draining. It's just been a lot for me, and I don't know, it's been a lot, everybody. But I hope you guys are doing really well. I am just hanging on. After next week, I'm pretty much done with school, so I'm hoping I chill, I relax, and etc. I get that chance to do that. But, still gotta do school for another week, unfortunately, and finals and everything. But I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you guys don't have to deal with finals. I hope you guys don't hate math, because I hate math right now. Oh my god. But anyway, program of the week. Again, this is another program I forgot how much I like, but I realized, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. One of the, I need to go back and rewatch more often. But that is Anna Capellini and Luca Lenotte from Italy, the ice dance team. Their 2013-2014 free dance in the Olympic season to Barber of Seville, the opera. And this program is simple to me, very simple, but simple in the most beautiful way. I think it just really shows how, over the top, very exaggerated, very theatrical isn't always, the best option. This isn't a flashy program. This isn't an in-your-face program. It's a program where we are quality ice dancers, and this is how we skate, and it's beautiful. But it is very classical, and I do think a lot of skating is very contemporary these days, which I don't mind, obviously, but sometimes I wish we had that more classical vibe that we used to have so much of, in the 90s and before that as well. But I really do love this program, specifically because of how the hand motions are done, especially in the beginning of this program. It's beautiful how it's just kind of balletic, and it just reminds me a lot of going to the theater and seeing a nice ballet and stuff like that. The lifts are really cool as well. There's a really, really cool stationary lift, and then Anna Capellini kind of gets flipped over by Luca Lenotte, which is really cool. There's a cool curve lift in there, and it's an easy watch. It's a very beautiful story that they're trying to put on the ice. And yeah, it's just how simple this program is. Just overall, it's simple. Obviously, it's very intricate with all the steps and the lifts and, all the crazy technical moves you're doing. The twizzles, there's a cool moment with the twizzles too. They went into the twizzles really cool. But it just feels classically refined and elegant in that way. And so I really do enjoy watching this program. And yeah, I really do love it. So go ahead and watch it. Anna Capellini, Luca Lenotte, their 2013-2014 free dance to Barbara Seville. Definitely go watch the one they did at the 2014 World Championships, where they won by 0.02 points, which was absolutely crazy. Very sorry if you can hear my computer right now. It's been it's having a day. My computer has been having a day. It's been overheating. It's been this. It's been that. But you know what? It's okay, guys. We're still here. But now to get on with our episode, and this episode is based around the debate between jumping and artistry in figure skating, which I think is a really big debate, and I feel like it does often get thrown around. But I really wanted to do an overview episode of what the debate is, why the debate exists, what can be done to maybe stop debate, to appeal to both sides of the debate, find a middle ground, and things like that. And the debate is between jumping, or the technical side of figure skating, versus the artistic side, and how, how scoring should work, what's fair and what's not, etc. And so I want to start off with a little history. I feel like this debate all started at the 2010 Winter Olympics, which in the men's event kind of had a bit of a scandal of Evgeny Plushenko versus Evan Lysacek. Lysacek, as many of us know, became the Olympic champion that year in 2010 at the 2010 Winter Olympics. Plushenko did not, even though Plushenko was the 2006 Olympic champion. But Plushenko got the silver medal in 2010. And so this is kind of a really big debate because Lysacek, even if he was Olympic champion, he actually did not attempt any quad jumps at all. I believe he had the capability to do the quad toe around this time, but he did not attempt it at the Olympics, and instead did the triple axel that were very quality. Plushenko, on the other hand, attempted one quad, being a quad toe in each of his programs, and led them successfully. And so Lysacek won the short program in the program component score, which is, widely considered the artistic score, the artistic side of figure skating. But Plushenko won the short overall, and in the technical side, the jumps, the spins, the step sequences. And so, kind of the big debate, Plushenko, although he had a quad, his jumps weren't as high quality as Evan Lysacek, who did have a lot more quality in his jumps and in the program component side. And Lysacek won the free and won the gold overall, although Plushenko had won the short. It was a very, very close result. I do not know the exact number, but I will search it up. Very sorry, guys. I'm dying already. Oh my god. They were less than a point apart from each other. Obviously, it's a very big debate who should have won because of this. But this kind of spawned a huge debate about, should jumps be considered more in figure skating? Should artistic side be considered more in figure skating? Plushenko kind of went out and said, the Olympic champion, Ivan Lysacek, he didn't even attempt any quads. I attempted quads, and yet I still got the silver medal. Why did that happen? And, it's really messy, and, there was a lot of drama. There's always drama in figure skating, of course. And so Lysacek did not attempt the quads, but he still became Olympic champion. Why did this happen? How did this happen? And, how does the jump versus archery debate play into this is what we're going to be exploring in today's episode. I know I sound really professional. I know, I'm just so professional, everybody. But I do want to talk about some guiding questions that, guiding questions that I want to answer throughout this video essay kind of thing. First question, is figure skating losing artistry, right? So, a lot of people say that figure skating used to be a lot more artistic, a lot more a lot more artistically technical, I guess. There was more appeal to music. People actually tried to connect to the music. They played characters. They did, emotion in their skating. And a lot of people are now saying, figure skating is just jump, jump, jump now. There's no art anymore. There's no emotion. Where's the connection to the audience and the music? Second question, should figure skating be losing artistry? So is figure skating losing artistry, and should figure skating be losing artistry? So I see a lot of people say figure skating should not be considered a sport because it is, a little artistic based. It's a little subjective. I definitely disagree, and I'm sure a lot of you disagree as well. Figure skating is definitely a sport. But should figure skating be losing artistry? And then on the flip side of that, is figure skating advancing technically, in the technical world? And should figure skating be advancing technically, or should we move the emphasis back on the art side of figure skating, leave it to just quads, don't do quintuples one day, just leave it to the quads? Can both coexist, which I think is the most important question. Can we have an equal emphasis on the technical side of figure skating and on the artistic side of figure skating? Because It does seem a little lopsided currently, one-sided towards one side, which I'll definitely discuss later. And obviously, the big question is, how do you balance it out? How do you balance out the artistic side and the technical side to make this sport fair for everyone? Because currently, I don't really feel like, and I'm sure a lot of people don't feel like, scoring in figure skating has never been quite fair per se. And more down to the specifics, obviously, sometimes the scoring, it just doesn't feel right. It's just, we, the fans at home, know, like, that person should not have gotten that score. That skater should have gotten more, etc. So I really want to focus on how do you balance out the two to make this sport more fair, technically and artistically, to benefit everyone, the skaters, the judges, and the audience, obviously, that is watching figure skating. Like, how do we make this a balance? And so that's what we're going to be discussing in today's episode. I know that was a whole lot, but basically, technical versus artistry is kind of the episode idea. So I want to start with some case studies. So these are like specific skaters that I want to talk about that I think people often point out in this technical versus artistic debate, per se. First skater I want to talk about for the technical kind of side, Ilya Malinin. Obviously, we know he is amazing at technical. He's landed every quad. First man to land the quad axel. But I have seen a lot of comments saying he is not artistic enough for figure skating. And I definitely think he's been improving on it. I don't want to say anything bad about him. He's definitely improved in his artistry this last season. I know he'll continue to improve. But I've seen a lot of people show him as like a prime example of the sport becoming too technical. Because it just seems like the people with the most amount of quads who can jump all the jumps are going to win. And, there's just no chance for the people who are more artistic and who might not have all the quads. Are more artistically inclined, but are very, very musically inclined, very artistic. They look so beautiful when they skate, but, their jumps aren't the best. And so I think Ilya Malinin is often seen as, like, the poster child of the technical side of figure skating, if that makes sense. He does the quad axel, he does the quad lifts, he does the quad flip, and he just wins. I believe he basically just had an undefeated season, right? I believe this last season was undefeated or no? I literally cannot remember, not gonna lie. Or did he lose to someone? Yeah, he did get a silver, right? Yeah, he got a silver at whatever. Anyway, sorry, sidetrack. But I do really like him as a skater. His jumps are incredible, of course. And so that's the case study for the technical side. Nathan Chen, I feel like, also got the same kind of, not commentary discussion around him. He did a bunch of quads, but a lot of people said he wasn't the most artistic. Like, it just feels, and I do see this really, like, I really empathize with these kind of people as well. See, I really do see both sides, that the people who jump the most, who can land the jumps cleanly, are going to win. Jumps are valued a ton in figure skating compared to the artistic side. And then the opposite skater that I always see being posted as well as the poster child of the artistic side is, my pride and joy, Jason Brown. And Jason Brown, unfortunately, he has never landed a clean quad, but he has, the best artistry in the men's field. I think it's really hands down. I know maybe he's not everyone's cup of tea or whatnot, but I really do think Jason Brown is the artistic skater right now. His programs are all amazing. And so, I really do feel like a lot of people point him out. He's such a great artist. He's such an example of how to skate. It's just that he doesn't have the big jumps that a lot of the other skaters have. And so he doesn't end up on the podium, or he doesn't end up winning all the big titles, even though artistic-wise, he should be winning the titles. If the sport was just entirely artistic, he should be winning all the titles, etc., etc. At the recent World Championships, he got, was it 5th place, I believe. He was 5th at the Olympics. He's been, He's medaled at 4 continents but never won it, etc. Which I definitely do think this is true. The sport currently, and I'm hoping to kind of discuss how we can solve this, it does currently value jumps a whole lot more than artistry. And unfortunately, that's kind of why Jason Brown, not just Jason Brown, obviously, a lot of skaters are more artistically inclined than to their technical side. I love them as well. I love the technical side, I love the artistic side, but I think the sport is really unfortunate for them, particularly because the artistic side is not valued as much, which is, really interesting to look at. Another example maybe is in the junior ranks. A lot of people talk about Mao Shimada versus Jia Shin. Mao Shimada having the quad toe and the triple axel. They're in the junior women's field, by the way. But Jia Shin not having the triples, but having a lot of artistic quality in her skating that a lot of people say Mao Shimada doesn't have as much of. She definitely has some, but not as much as Jia Shin. And so people kind of debating, Jia Shin has she won against Mao Shimada? I have no idea. But a lot of people have been saying that, she's just so artistic. We want her to win a big title one day. But Mao Shimada has the quad set, the triple axel, the jumps that are so, so hard, so advanced. She has triples, etc., etc. And so that really allows her to scoop up, the medals, the titles, etc. But we really want Jia Shin the medal too. And things like that. So again, jumps are definitely worth a lot more than artistry right now, because there's definitely multiple reasons to this, but one reason I want to kind of propose that I don't see a lot of people suggest a lot is figure skating. It definitely is not the most popular sport. I think we all know that. It's really not the most popular sport in a lot of different countries. Here in the US, it's definitely not a very popular sport to watch. Maybe in the top 10, maybe, but very near the bottom of that. And so I want to say that a reason why jumps are valued, sorry everybody, my charger. Jumps are valued so much these days is because of the excitement they bring to the sport to draw in viewers. I have no idea if that's a legit reason, really. But I feel like the artistic side does not bring in skaters as much. Not skaters, fans or viewers as much, because I don't know. Because the jumps are exciting, right? Artistry to me is exciting, but not a lot of people see as this nice flowy skating as fun, it's cool, it's beautiful, exciting. People see a lot of jumps, the quad axel, that's so exciting. First man to land it, wow, Ilya Malinin, right? And so I feel like jumps are not even valued by the judges more, but also by the audience, by the general audience. Because that's different from, I feel like, the regular figure skating audience. The general audience sees the jumps, they're like, whoa, that is so cool. And they don't tend to look at the artistic side enough, because the artistic side is not inherently as obvious, if that makes sense. Right? You can see someone land a quad and that looks difficult. A lot more difficult than, a nice little emotion, expression, connection to the music. Right? So I definitely feel like that's a little bit of the reason, not the big main contributing factor, but I definitely feel that's something in this equation, this very messy equation, but I definitely feel that's something. Let me know what you guys think, definitely. And so arguments for both sides, right? Jumps, spins, and sequences are not subjective. If you land a jump, you land a jump. If you spin the spin, you spin the spin. If you step to the sequence, you step to the sequence, right? So it's not subjective. It's a lot more objective than artistry, because there's exactness to it, right? You have to have an exact number of revolutions in your spin, exact number of steps in your sequence, exact number of features to get a level 4, exact number of, seconds spent in a ice dance lift, exact number of, exact criteria to get this or that. And so it's a lot more objective. It's not it's not as subjective. There is still an element of subjectivity to it. With GOE, obviously, like, what is really a +4 versus a +5? Like, can we really tell that? Judges never agree on it, obviously, but whatever. And so, so sorry, guys. And so the technical people say that, we want the sport to be more technical, or the sport should become more technical. And, do you see this? Like, jumps, spins, and sequences are not subjective. Artistry is so subjective. And this is something I definitely see, like, what makes one skater more artistic than another? I think there's some more obvious things, but this is really difficult, right? If a skater can, the system goes from 0 to 10 in 0.25 increments. So, like, what makes a skater a 10 in interpretation or presentation, but another skater is only a 9.75? That is, to me, a lot more difficult to judge, and the judges seem a lot more compared to Johnson. I would say the judges seem a lot more split on the artistic side, the PCS, the program component scores, because it is hard to do that. And yeah, they're not it's a lot harder to tell what is artistry. Is there really a clear definition for artistry? Like, there's a clear definition of a clean jump, but artistry, interpretation, composition, presentation, what else do they do? Skating skills, I know they changed it, but I remember the old system. Transitions, do they still do that? I have no idea. But that's a lot harder to tell. What is a good composition? What's a good presentation? It's just not... It's very willy-nilly, washy-washy. It's just kind of... The lines are a little blurry on that. It's not clean-cut is what I'm saying. And I'm not saying jumps are exactly clean-cut either. That is also a whole nother mess, which I'll talk about. Judges are not clear on GOE criteria for jumps. Some skaters get like a -3 on a jump from one judge and a +5 on a jump from another judge. What the heck is wrong with that, right? Like, one judge said it's a terrible jump, one judge said it's great. Like, how... It's very disparity. Obviously, when you have a human doing judging, there is a chance for bias, which is really unfortunate, but it is like human nature. Are they going to be biased towards someone from their own country? A lot of skating, like, research has been done on this about judges that are biased towards skaters from their own country, which is really, it's really unfortunate, but it's a consequence of how the sport works. And I will suggest a solution to this later that I've seen online that other people said. Another thing is under rotations, okay? Some skaters under rotate their jumps, and it is not called by, I believe it's the technical controller that does it. Again, people from the artistic side say, jumping, the scoring for the technical side is it's not clean as they say, because, and this is why, because, some people do under rotations and it never gets called because, whatever, bias or whatnot. Edges as well. Someone does switches to a flat edge or an inside edge or an unclear edge for their LUTs, and it doesn't get called. They don't get the negative GOE. And so the technical side is also technically broken as well. I know that made no sense, but I agree with that too. I have to say that side is also kind of broken. And so the current scoring system is broken, right? Technical side, they're not clear on how to score jumps, under rotations, and edges never get called. The GOE is a mess. Judges never agree on the GOE. And then the artistic side, oh my gosh, artistry is super subjective. Like, that's not, it's so subjective. Like, how do you track composition of a program? Like, that makes no sense. Like, and so those are both of the main arguments I see. But now we're going to move into the happier the second half of this, the positive, the beauty side of this episode. And that question is, can we fix it? Can we fix this insanely corrupt judging and messy system that, like, I don't even understand at this point? And how do we make the sport more fair by fixing it? Because I'm kind of worried about figure skating, not gonna lie. It is... I have to admit that I feel like all the time that, like, a scoring scandal will happen or some drama in the sport will happen, and that's when figure skating gets popular, is when there's something bad that happens, right? With some scoring scandal or some drama, right? But, like, how do we fix that? Because, like, figure skating is not seen as, like, this happy sport sometimes, I feel like, especially here in the States. It's seen as a sport with so much drama. And this is so unfortunate, I feel like. So can we fix it? How do we get better scoring to balance the jumps and the art, etc.? I do have to say, I am not an ISU expert. I am literally a teen making conspiracy theory videos at this point, or podcast episodes at this point, from his bedroom. It's, it's awful, but I'm so sorry. But I'm not an ISU expert. I don't make the rules to this sport at all. I don't even have a degree. Let me tell you my sob story about my homework and blah, blah. But yeah, I'm not an ISU expert at all. I haven't even read the technical handbook. I know some people have read the technical handbook, which props to you, but literally I know nothing about how, things should actually be scored. And I do know, like, how things should be scored, but I don't know, like, all the criteria for jumps or anything. So, like, some people might do, but what was I gonna say? But I'm not an expert, so just take this lightly. But it's just my my opinions, guys. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm tired. Anyway, what is happening? Ooh, cool. Never mind. So, the current scoring system. I want to explain the current scoring system, which I know is already confusing to a lot of people, including myself. It takes a long time to wrap your head around it. So, let's say jumps, right? Let's say you do a quad axel. There are 7, it depends on what the event is. There's usually 7 judges. So those judges will get a scale from -5 to +5. They judge how well you did that jump based on this criteria that they're supposed to be able to know. So they all give you random numbers. Not random, but they pick their own numbers. They don't consult all the other judges. +1, +2, maybe a negative. They did a bad landing, but another judge saw it was good. Unclear, right? Maybe they had a landing that looked messy to someone, but looked fine to another judge. So maybe the judge who thought it was messy gave them a -2. The judge that thought it looked good, +3. It doesn't make sense. It's very, like, do you think it was messy or not? Did it look bad or not? Did it look intentional or accidental? Like, I don't know. You don't know either. So, I know that the judges are not allowed to, like, go back and... No, they are allowed to go back and rewind, but they're not allowed to, like, look at things from different angles, I believe. Like, they only have one camera angle, I believe, which is crazy. But I will say that GOE is more infinite, right? And I don't mean infinite as in you can get as much GOE as you want. It does cap out at +5. But what I want to say about it being infinite, which I don't know if that's kind of the right word to use here. It is infinite in the sense that you can do whatever jumps you want. So, how do I explain this? So the quad axel is worth a bunch, and the GOE added on is also a bunch if it gets a good GOE. And so it's a lot more infinite than artistry. But it's not infinite. It has less limits than artistry, right? Artistry is more not clean cut. It's more limited in the sport in terms of judging it. Jumps, however, it could be +5, +4s, etc. on how you score a jump. And especially types of jumps, right? There are 6 types of jumps that get scored. The toe loop, Salchow loop, flip, Lutz, and axel, while in artistry, there's only 3 categories to judge. And so the jumps are often seen, again, as the most important thing right now. And so the jumps often have a lot more scoring potential in terms of how much they can raise up your score, if that makes sense, with the GOE and the base value and all that. Now, the artistry side, the program component scores, the PCS as you know it, you get up to 10.00. So 10, and that's it. You can't get more than 10 from a judge. And then it goes down 9.75, 9.5, 9.25 in increments of 0.25, as I mentioned earlier. My throat is killing me, guys. Okay, but yeah. So program component scores are like finite, right? Finite, infinite, and finite, right? But if a skater got all 10s, that's the max they can get. They can't get more than that, if that makes sense. Like, how do I give an example? Okay, let's say there's 2 really good artistically skaters. They both get all 10s, right? And that's it. That's a cap on how much program component score you can have. That's it. There's a limit to how much program component score you can have. Jumps, on the other hand, don't have as much of a limit. So maybe one of those artistic skaters has more quads than the other one, and so they end up winning overall because jumps have more infinite, not exactly infinite. I'm using air quotes, with the bunny ears or whatever right now. You can't see that, but you know what I mean? So jumps are not as they're not as finite because of GOE, because of the types of jumps, the quads, you can do triples, and so that is more infinite than PCS, which are capped at 10. You can't get more than that at all. Like, you max at 10.00 for each category, which I believe right now is, I don't know, is it composition training? Composition, skating skills, and interpretation right now? Or presentation, I have no idea. And so another thing I want to really point out, people may never be happy, okay, which is fair. It's fair with every sport. I'm sure in tons of sports there's tons of big debates and how to score. I remember, I don't watch basketball, but I know about, what's that thing called in basketball? When you fake injury in basketball? What are they called? Is it called a fake? I forgot I feel like there's a name for it. Faking injury? They like fake an injury, right? And a flop, obviously. Okay, a flop in basketball. So a lot of people say, this needs, how do you say it? Revision, needs some rethinking on flops in basketball. And, some people are happy with it, some people are not. I remember reading about this in an English kind of thing. But that kind of same logic applies to figure skating. Can we really make everyone happy? I think no, not everyone's happy right now. I really don't think anyone's ever been all happy about figure skating. Wow, the judging of this is amazing. Everyone is where they should be. Some people will say a skater should have been first, this skater should have been second, etc. And I don't think that's ever going to go away unless they find some crazy revamp of the whole scoring system, like when they switched from 6.0 to the current system. Even that didn't really fix anything, really, because they're still biased and whatnot. But people aren't going to be happy with what they do. I think it can the sport can become fairer, but not, like, fairest. You know what I mean? A lot of people cite the example that other sports are more clear, like, who is supposed to win, and, like, you score points, or you get a time, or you do whatnot. And so figure skating, I don't think people are never going to be happy. I know gymnastics is another sport that gets scored. People are never happy, and at least everyone is never happy with how the scoring works in that. Lots of different things, right? And so that was kind of a long rant in that little area, but can we fix the scoring system? I believe yes. Can we make it the fairest thing in the world? I believe no. Can we make everyone happy? I also believe no, unfortunately. Yeah, I really don't think we can really fix the sport to make it like the fairest thing. Yay, you win this and then you should have won it. No. But suggestions that I've seen around the internet, one big suggestion I often see is to split the judging panel or multiply it by 2. And so this would be one technical panel for the technical side and one panel for the artistic side. So you would have like 7 judges for the technical side and 7 judges for the artistic side. And how this would work, the 7 judges for the technical side would only score jump, spin, step sequences in the choreo sequence. And then the artistic jury, or the artistic jury, Eurovision again, I'm sorry. The artistic the judges will only track, the composition, skating skills, and presentation, if that's right. I don't remember. Which I do think is a good idea in theory, but money is a huge issue, and unfortunately, you can't. Money is really important in figure skating. Obviously, judges, they need it. I don't think they even get paid. It's a volunteer kind of thing, right? And so, money is a huge issue if you really want to transport all those judges and pay for all the hotel rooms. It's a hard sport to be in. But I definitely see this as being fairer because a lot of people cite right now, judges are responsible for both technical and artistic. And, this is just the fault of the system because imagine watching 24 skaters in a free skate, basically back to back pretty much, doing jumps and spins and whatnot in artistry. Like, how do you really tell who is more artistic than another person? Like, by the time you get to the first person, you have to compare them to 23, or the last person, you have to compare them to 23 other skaters. And that is really difficult. Like, did that skater have better artistry than him? Does this skater deserve more points in the artistic category, in the technical side as well? Was that quadlets better than that quadlets I just saw last, 3 skaters ago, 2 groups ago? And so I definitely see that being an issue currently, but to split the judging panel up into two different judging panels, it's not far-fetched at all. I definitely see why people believe it, but it's a little improbable with the whole money thing. Money is important, and unfortunately, that's kind of the truth of our world today. One thing I've seen as well that is pretty extreme is just remove the technical side of figure skating. No more jumps, no more spins, no more subsequences, just artistry. And this is not gonna happen. It's really not. Because then, how do you tell, if one skater, again, how do you tell one more skater is more artistic than another? Just artistic, and that's how you decide the win. That's, the sport requires a level of subjectivity at some point, otherwise the scoring is not going to work. Because if you just remove all the jump spins and sequences, and you're just judging based on skating skills, I believe the sport is pretty boring to watch if you're just a general viewer. And B, how do you tell if one skater really is, better than another? It's just not going to happen. And then another really sad side to me is and so to remove the artistic side, the program components, don't keep those either. Just remove keep the technical side, but don't keep the artistic side. And that is another suggestion that's really not for me, because artistry is what gets you, captivated more, I feel like, sometimes. Artistry is very important in this sport. If you remove artistry, I think you remove the life of the sport. If it's just jumping, jump, that'd be so, it wouldn't be good, really, just jumping, it's just, I don't know, if you just jumped all day, really, that's kind of just, I don't know, guys. If you just jumped all day, that'd be it's fun and okay, really. Yeah. And so that's my little opinion about that. And then So what else? Let me think, guys. Okay, so other solutions, make even more strict criteria. I feel like this is really important as well. Make even more strict criteria, because not to say that the criteria right now isn't strict. Like, I do see some technical controllers being very following to the rules right by the book, and saying that spin is not a level 4, it's a level 2. And they didn't get all the features in, which is really good. It's good that they're being that fair and that just and correct, because some skiers get a level 4 subsequence when they should be getting like a 1. I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of, it just feels like that. It's like, did you count the same stuff I did? I mean, I don't count them, but you know what I mean? Like, if you went back and checked, like, they should not have gotten the level 4, right? And the fans can see that. The fans have been fans for a long time. They understand how scoring works, how many steps you should get in, what levels things should be. And they know, like, when that is not right. And so I really do feel like the criteria should be stricter, and the judges need to follow the criteria, like, strictly. Like, I don't know how that would happen. Like, trainings obviously cost money as well. Trainings, like, can you really train every judge again? So, like, hey, here's the new strict criteria. You have to follow it. Or, I don't know. Like, you don't get a judge again. I don't know. And so, obviously, I wouldn't say, like, I don't know. It just has to be found a balance between loose and strict. The sport can't be too loose, otherwise judging will just be whack, but it can't be too strict, because then otherwise, the scoring is just going to be like, how do you say this? It can't be too strict, because I feel like then it isn't, I don't really know what the reason would be. Maybe it is better to have stricter criteria overall. It would just be really long to learn, obviously, and, like, the trainings and whatnot. Like, hey, like, you remember when we had, like, 6 features to get a level 4 spin? Here's 20 that you need to remember. Like, that be a little out of hand is what I would say. Like, just not, that doesn't seem right. That's just not right. But yeah. So then I want to talk a little bit my personal opinion, which I know I already kind of have talked about throughout this podcast, even though I wasn't kind of supposed to. I do... Oh, hold on. One more judging suggestion I have seen. I forgot about this. I don't know why I forgot about this. National judges, right? A lot of people... I believe it's gymnastics that does this, but if a gymnast is in the final of a competition... I have no idea how gymnastics really works. The judges, any of the judges, they can't be from the same country as a gymnast in the final, if that makes sense. Like, if a gymnast is from country A, a judge in the judging panel cannot be from country A, if that makes sense. They have to be, and that happens to all the gymnasts. So, the countries that the gymnasts represent and the countries that the judges are from are totally different, and so that's less bias. I see that working well in figure skating. But obviously, figure skating, there's a ton of countries who compete in figure skating, and so they really do have to find judges that are not from those countries, and considering there's 24 skaters in a free skate, like, that is a little bit difficult. I have no idea how gymnastics, like, placements and whatnot work, really, but I'm sure it's probably less than 24, but imagine, like, there's 24 skaters, but 24 different countries, and they have to find judges that are not from those 24 countries. Like, that's a good chunk of the world. And again, that could be, very difficult with training and money and cost and right? But my personal opinion, let's go back to that. I do like both. Jumps are so cool and they advance the sport. I really do hope in my lifetime that I get to see someone land a quintuple. Seeing Ilia Malinin land a quad axel live watching Skate America 2022 was literally so awesome. I will remember that. Amazing. And seeing him landing over and over. And it was just to be boring, right? I think jumps are so important in this sport. They've been a heart of this sport for so long. And you just gave me, like, artistic, like, I would like it, but then, like, where's the cool jumps? Like, where's the excitement? Where are they gonna land it? Are they not? Oh my gosh, I'm so scared with my skater, etc. And so, I definitely think it's great that people are pushing the sport, not just in the men's field, obviously in the pairs and ice skates and women's, with triple axel in women's and quads, and in ice, and in pairs are doing like quad twists and quad throws and side by side jumps that are crazy, and ice dance are doing more and more innovative, crazy, dangerous lifts. And so I love the technical side of figure skating. I really do love it, and if you didn't have it, it'd just be kind of boring. But the artistic side is really what got me in this sport, I feel like, because I love the artistic side of figure skating. It just makes it so unique. There's really not a lot of other sports that are technical and artistic, right? Like, if you showed me a game of, like, basketball, I'd be like, excuse me, where's my Swan Lake? Where is my Don Quixote music, right? Because it's just so repetitive to me. But artistry is never repetitive. Every skater is artistic in their unique style, and that makes figure skating so special and different from other sports in, like, the best way possible. And so if you just remove the artistry, I've talked about this again. If you just jump, spin, sequence, and it just be what I call really a jump fest. It's not like skating, it's just jumping at this point. And so, yeah, I definitely think there needs to be a balance between the both. Overall, judging needs a whole rework. I feel like it just needs an evaluation. I hope ISU evaluates it and kind of gets opinions from the public and from coaches and skaters and judges and whatnot. And so I really hope one day figure skating becomes more fair than it is now. Because right now it kind of is like, but I really hope it becomes more fair because people deserve, to watch a sport that's really fair, and they can root for their favorite skaters, knowing how the sport really works and what should be right in the sport. And I think that's really important. Figure skating is an amazing sport. I will hopefully never stop watching it. But I do admit it is not perfect at all. I don't think any sport is really perfect. But figure skating is definitely not perfect. It needs some reworking in terms of, like, scoring and whatnot. But I still love it. I love it for all the craziness and whack and drama and that is. And I know you guys who are listening love it as well. My throat is really dry right now. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I know it was a long rant about jump, artistry, presentation, blah, 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 blah. But, yeah, thank you so much for listening. Next week's episode, oh my gosh, I'm so praying for Grand Prix summits that are coming out. I know it's early June, but I have no idea, like, when in June. But next week's episode will probably not be the Grand Prix summit episode because I don't think it's going to come out soon. At least I haven't heard any news. So I will definitely come up with next week's episode. No idea. I want to start this series, but I want to discuss the Grand Prix summits first, which is kind of like, it ruins the schedule a little bit, but it's totally fine. And so, yeah, we will figure out, it's going to be a little bit of a surprise what I discuss next week. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. Thank you for listening to me drone on about this debate for hours. Not hours, minutes, almost an hour. But thank you so much for listening. That's the third time I said that. But yeah. Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.